What do scammers, norm, thin kerf saw blades, and quarterly tax returns have in common? Those and a few other things are the subjects of today's Tips and Suggestions number 2. This is episode 69. I did a Tips and Suggestions, I think it was episode 54, if you want to check that out. Basically, this is things that I come across that I think are important, that aren't big enough for an episode by themselves, so I kind of throw them all together, and here we go. My name is Roger Kugler. This is Working at Woodworking Podcast, episode 69. I've been in business for about 20 years professionally as a solo woodworker, and I've taken it upon myself as a personal mission to help you, the skilled amateur worker, or the person who's just starting out in business and maybe needs a little help to get that business up off the ground, get it running, hang your shingle out, make some extra money, and help your community with your skills. So, we'll dive into this. Number 1 on the list, scammers. OMG. They have been coming out of the woodwork. I mean, it used to always be bad, and before scammers, we had door-to-door salesmen. Fortunately, they're pretty much extinct. But email scams. Hi there. Ever seem like Hoosier Woodworks, that's my company, receives more calls versus what you can handle? My name is Julie Smith at julie.7350@gmail.com. And she wants to set up an introductory call and see if their company services would be of interest to me to handle the massive call volume that I receive. And no, I am not interested. Report spam if you're using Gmail, and hope to never hear from you again. Have a great day. How do you pick these things out? Number 1, if someone is representing a company and they're using a Gmail account, nada, nix, no way am I going to participate in that. That is red flag number 1. Umo supremo. If your company can't afford, I mean, it's not even expensive. It just takes a little bit of coding, moving this button over here and flipping that switch on the DNS, and you have your own company email. It's not rocket science. Well, it's like IT science, but still, it's not that hard. You don't have your employees using a Gmail account, okay? No, don't do that. And if you're doing that with your business, I really, really want to encourage you to take that next step and set up a company email account. The second thing you should do is, she goes on here, Julie, goes on and says that my company is XYZ company. You need to Google XYZ company. I did that with Julie, and it's a porn site. I didn't go any further. It's like, that's a porn site. Nope, not going there. So, I mean, these are phishing attacks. These are scammers. Just don't participate. If there's a link in that email, do not click on it. No way. Never click on that. That just opens up a whole realm of possibilities. Or if there's a cute little image of this kitty, don't click on the kitty. Just say no, because you can embed spam and Trojan horses and malware and all kinds of crap inside of a graphic. Don't do it. Have nothing to do with it. Delete. Phone scammers. They haven't taken a holiday. Now, I have an app on my phone called Umail, not sponsored, associated, anything. They do a pretty darn good job. I mean, it'll pop up on those little notifications and it will say, protected you from 12 spam calls today. Good for you. And I believe them because before I had this on here, I literally was taking 12 spam calls a day. How do you tell? I mean, no disrespect to anyone, but if they don't have a good command of the English language, that's probably tip number one, that this is not going to be beneficial to you. Again, no disrespect to anyone. I got one a few days ago. I couldn't believe it. And this was a English speaker, English as a first language. And she, said, "Hi, my name is Rachel, and I need the model number of your copier in your office." "Huh? Hi, Rachel. Why do you need that?" "Well, I'm calling from Global something or other, and your copier vendor has asked us to send out new manuals to the address 118. And actually, that's all she said, was just 118. And that's no giant secret. I have a website. And I said, "Well, which vendor was that?" "Oh, well, we don't have a list of vendors specific to what you have, but we represent all the major vendors, HP, Epson," and she rattled off 3 or 4 more. This is the old copier toner scam that I used to fight back in the 90s, where they call up and say, "What's the model number of your copier?" And then lo and behold, you have a case of copier toner show up at your shipping and receiving, and they just bring it in and unpack it and put it into storage, and you get an invoice for like $3,200 for a copier toner. Well, if you're at a big company, a big corporation that doesn't have a lot of checks and balances installed in their financial system, this stuff will slip through. And these scammers will get a check from your billing department or your accounts payable department for $3,200. They did that because it worked. I worked for a relatively small company, and there was like maybe 20 employees, and I was the guy in the office writing the checks, ordering the toner, and I never ordered this. I never authorized that, and I was right next door to the receiving department, and it's like, no, not going to happen. I ended up reporting those to the Attorney General in the state of Connecticut, and about 6 months later, they got taken down. They got taken out. It was like a national news item that these crooks were all arrested. So anyway, be careful on the phone, because what appears to be truthful is not truthful. And ask questions. The more questions you ask, the more annoyed they become, the more scammy they are. Normal companies don't behave that way. So be very, very careful using the word yes, because I've heard that there's another scam that if they can get your recorded voice of yes, then that institutes a contract, blah, 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 and they try to hold you to it. It's all a scam. So I never use the word yes in something like that if I'm the least bit suspicious. Just be suspicious of when somebody calls you up and tries to sell you something. That's, unsolicited. No, I don't do that. Okay, here's another big one. Tool websites. Where did this come from? Seriously, I was looking for, long story short, I was looking at an online auction. They had an air compressor. I wouldn't mind having a second air compressor in the shop. And auctions is a great place to buy that, especially if you know the auctioneer or the auction house, that they don't sell crap. I'm perfectly, fine with buying something like that locally online. You have the winning bid, you stop by their place, you pick it up. But I wanted to see what the retail on this. My general rule of thumb is a good deal is 25% of retail would be a good deal. 50%, maybe, depending what it is and depending on the market. So I went to look up air compressor, and on Google you have that, the little bar across the top of all the different, options. And for this one air compressor, I'm seeing $299, $289, $329, $369, and $69. Huh? And here's one for $62.87. Who does $62.87? It's like, that doesn't look right. So I clicked it. Of course I did. And it's this website, acmetools.com, I think it was. And I kind of clicked through and it's like, no. And honestly, totally honestly, for a split second, I'm thinking, I need to jump on this. They've probably made a mistake. I need to jump on this. I resisted that urge, did a little more digging. Yeah, total scam website. Total scam website. How do you know if one of these things is a scam? When you click on the harborfreight.com link, because they have their compressor up there too, watch up in the URL bar up on top where the website address appears. That should immediately go to harborfreight.com. It'll have https://. That should immediately go to Harbor Freight. If it does something like 1937 CHSP cartwide.com and then go to spam website name, that's probably a spam website. That is a redirect that the magic that happens behind the interweb, that if they see this command, they're supposed to take that here. And it takes a couple extra seconds to do that. If it looks weird, it probably is weird. Sometimes if you're on scamtools.com website, or you see the link, in the search engine results, and you click on it and it does that funny name change, and then it ends up on Best Tools website. Okay, they kind of farmed out a name and then they changed the name, and that's pretty tacky too. For SEO, there's some times that you want to do that, but it's still kind of tacky, and it's very, very suspicious. Look for obscene low prices. Like, this compressor is supposed to be $300 at the Big Orange box store, and they have it for $69. Yeah, there's something wrong here. Now, if they say like reconditioned or thrown off of a cliff or something like that, okay. But this was, the graphic was absolutely perfect. You can grab that off of a website real easy. This site had pneumatic nailers for $61. Woohoo! Great price for a 23 gauge pen nailer, for a big framing nailer that would shoot 16 penny nails. So that just doesn't make any sense, and I'm going to have to take a break. Look at the website. It's probably pretty clean. The old way of detecting these things were misspellings, using the wrong words at the wrong place, poor grammar. They've gotten pretty good at this, and I think probably some of that has to do with AI. But it's very generic. You've seen this and it looks just like this one. In fact, the sites that I were looking at, they all look to be the exact same template, and they just kind of changed the color scheme and things like that. Even the words were the same. Look on the contact page and check out the listed address. I did this on 2 of them, and one was a 2-story house in someplace in eastern Pennsylvania, a small town. The other one was Key West, Florida. Again, just this kind of nondescript, small, maybe had been a business at one time, but it looked like it had been converted into a home. And with Google Maps, you just, copy and paste the address in, and boom, you can see exactly where it's at. Click the little guy down in the right-hand corner and get the map view, and you can look exactly right at the house number and everything. And it's like, that doesn't look like a business. So that's a clue. On the 3 sites that I looked at, on the business hours, it was 10 to 1700. 1000 to 1700s. We don't do that in the U.S. Now, the rest of the world, yes, they do that. They're, well, like smarter than we are. But generally, we don't use military time in commercial settings in the U.S. That would be, 10 to 5 p.m. So, and then the phone number. If the phone number has the, what do they call that? The world code, the country code, +1, parentheses, 673, parentheses, 555, 1212. I just made that up. Most businesses in the U.S. don't use country codes. So a business in someone's bedroom or basement in a 2-story house in Pennsylvania is probably not going to put in the country code. If you want to do some further digging and maybe let this do the heavy lifting for you, I found a website, urlvoid.com. And this kind of looks at the back end of the websites. I found it incredibly fascinating, very, very useful. You can paste in the suspicious URL of the website in here, and it will go through and tell you everything that they can find about it. This one revealed that the domain name was like 2 months old. It had a low confidence or a low trust level is how they put it. There were other indicators that was not good. One of them being that the server was located in Turkey. Again, I love our Turkish listeners, but the location was in the middle of the Hellespont, in the middle of the river. Not warm, fuzzy feelings. Whenever you say that you are in Florida or you're in Pennsylvania and I'm expecting you to ship this to me out of your basement or the back little, shed where you keep your lawnmower. Oh, and you had 1,000 air compressors in stock of that model, the Makita air compressor. Yeah, I don't think so. There's another website called Spam Advisor. I typed in strictlymoat.com. Its reviews were 1 out of 100. Yeah, it had 1 point out of 100 as being a reliable, trustworthy website. This website has been reported by spam killers as a possible scam. Maybe somebody else is wise to this. They could possibly be what's referred to as transshippers. These are people who sit on the beach in Key West, Florida, and they build a website and they make a deal with Makita that I'm going to put your XYZ air compressor on my website, and any orders that I generate, you will ship directly to the consumer. I'll only take a 10% cut, 15% cut. That was something incredible, very, very popular a few years ago. I don't know if that's going on anymore. I would just honestly rather deal with, established, brick and mortar companies that actually have the things sitting on the shelf and they're going to load that, onto a truck and ship it to me. Nothing against people sitting on the beach in Key West, but no, I choose not to do business with you. So always be suspicious. Just, man, internet's wonderful. It can also be a scary place. So keep your eyes open. Never, ever, ever, ever click on a link, especially if it's unsolicited, like an email link. Never do, or text. Oh, there's all kinds of phishing scams going on with text messages now, and that's bleeding into social media. So social media is being taken over by scammers. If you get a text message that says your credit card may be compromised, there is suspicious activity on your account, click here to be connected with a representative. No, don't do that. Or the latest one is, we will contact you to resolve this issue. Like 10 minutes later, you get a phone call. Hi, this is Darren from Perfect English. And you go through it and it's like, oh my gosh, I've had that credit card for like 30 years. We exchange Christmas cards. There can't be anything wrong with my credit card. Can you help me with my credit card? And I will be happy to take care of this for you. And they go through and they steal your information. never give out passwords, usernames. If they don't have access to that information, they shouldn't have access to that information. PINs. Now, PINs is something different. PINs is, an agreed upon number or code word or whatever that you and that vendor have established prior. And that is one thing that they can use to identify you. The age-old thing is your grandmother's maiden name. Okay, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out most people's grandmother's maiden name. There's things like Ancestry.com. It's not hard to figure this stuff out. So you just got to be real careful. And really what they're doing is they're trying to get personal information. If they can get 100 pieces of you, they can assemble a pretty good picture of who you are. And that can be used to gain access to other things, to different accounts and things like that. You just have to be really, really careful. Honestly, I would kind of even consider creating a false persona. I don't use my real birthday except on, documents, government, really, really important things. Banking is one of those real important things. But otherwise, if they just want my birthday, I make something up. That way I get, I get happy birthday. We have a deal for you, like 6 months before my birthday. And I know exactly where that came from. Or if it's something out of the blue, I know who sold my information. Honestly, I would just kind of make up, I had a pet lizard. My lizard's name was Dracor. My mother's name was this. My father's name was that. I've got 13 brothers and sisters. You just make crap up, except for, government stuff, because it's none of their business, to be really honest with you. Okay, sorry, off that soapbox. On happier news, Norm is back. Yay! Well, kind of. Hackaday.com, great website, reports that the official YouTube channel for the New Yankee Workshop has started uploading the full episodes of the original PBS shows. The series ran from 1989 through 2009, I believe. The early shows were pretty low quality. Even just watching them now, it's a little hard. They were filmed, or they were recorded on tape, and tape doesn't last very long. Film lasts much longer. So they've wanted to kind of upgrade these early episodes, and they have partnered with a company apparently that uses artificial intelligence, AI. And the AI can go through and put things together and take this and match it up with that and fill in the gap here and sharpen things up. Any of the, Photoshop or GIMP or something like that can kind of do that, but apparently this does a really, really good job. They pointed to the season 4, episode 3, the children's wagon episode. Oh man, that was a classic. You remember that one. They upgraded that to 1080p. It was like 720 used to be the standard, and this stuff was even lower than that. I think it was something like 480 or something like that. They've also done that with season 12, episode 1 and 2, the Garage Workshop. Great episode, and maybe some of you are kind of in the middle of maybe rebuilding your workshop or getting a workshop set up for your business. Go back and watch that. I mean, Norm covered a lot of very, very useful stuff. So they're slowly starting to upgrade these older shows into the new higher quality, higher definition format, so that should be fun. They do warn that the AI is not perfect, and particularly in the facial features, sometimes will kind of glitch out. You kind of get that changeling thing, which, I don't know, maybe Norm Abrams is a changeling. But just, kind of bear with them until they get some of that figured out. I really probably shouldn't have said that about Norm Abrams. I want to give a special thanks to Brian and Darren and Valentine for cups of coffee. Thank you guys so very much, and kind comments, kind words, and some questions. So I really, really appreciate that. Another little gem that I came across was the website of Jeff from Home Renovision DIY, a YouTube channel. He has an episode called Don't Shop at the Box Store, Save Money. And now Jeff is a contractor, and he's built this channel, wonderful channel, showing homeowners primarily how to do a lot of these repairs and renovations, remodels yourself. And we're talking everything from the shingles or the roofing material on the top of the house to the, basement foundation, crawl space underneath. And, siding, electrical, plumbing. Does a wonderful job. Really, really good video. I highly recommend you check him out. You probably have some jobs in the shop that fall under this, and you could pick something up and save some money if you can figure out how to do it yourself. Anyway, Jeff's this episode, Don't Shop at the Box Store, is all about wholesale, shopping wholesale, staying out of the retail stores. And this is something I've harped on. You shouldn't be buying your lumber at retail. If you're going into Woodcraft or Rockler, nothing against them at all, but you're paying retail prices for that. You should be paying, wholesale is a little different in the lumber industry, but you should be paying business prices at least. And some of you might be able to start buying things by the 1,000 board foot. I wish I had that storage space, but at least business prices. You're a business, you're in this for the long haul, and they're going to treat you like that, with really good service. Being a little extra careful when they're picking lumber for you for delivery and prices. So watch that. It's actually a live stream. It's pretty long, but you got something to sand. Pull this up on YouTube, put your hearing protection on, link to it with Bluetooth, and start sanding away. It definitely makes that chore go much, much easier. Or when you're just cleaning the shop, and God knows we all need to clean our shops, I'd recommend you give him a listen. Okay, PayPal. Yeah, there's kind of a love-hate relationship there. You kind of want to hate them for some of the stupid things that they do, just downright stupid things. But honestly, they're kind of the only game in town for a lot of us. Now, some people are on Square or Squarespace or Shopify. Fantastic. Others who have their own websites, like myself, I rely upon the PayPal buy buttons. And the buy buttons are a little piece of code that you can put into your website that if somebody wants to buy your credenza or maybe your charcuterie boards, they can click on the Buy Now button and it goes through a shopping cart. All of that is off-site. It is not on your servers. You're completely safe as far as DCIS, digital card security system. That was like episode 22 or something. You can go back and listen to that. They handle all of that muckety stuff in the background. And they charge you, let's be honest, it's a pretty small fee. It's like 3.5% or something like that. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing that for me so that I don't have to watch my brains turn into mush trying to figure out how to do that. So anyway, some updates with PayPal. PayPal Here, which it was one of their third-party payment transfer systems. Somebody comes into your shop and you can take money from them via PayPal Here, and that ends up in your account. That's going away April 3rd. We talked about this earlier. If you are still using that and you've ignored all of the multiple warnings that PayPal has emailed to you, you need to take care of this. I have switched to Zettle, and Yay, 2 thumbs up. Fantastic. Really, really, I'm enjoying it, to be honest with you. I've never had a good system. I never got onto the PayPal here system. I've only made a few transactions with it, but the simple fact that the customer comes in to pick up their good, their product, and they hand me a credit card and they put it into a little machine. You have to have your cell phone, and you punch in the numbers, and it says, thank you. Do you want to email the, receipt? And they put in the email address. Caveat, that's not recorded. So if you want their email address, you need to ask them for that and write it down someplace. I thought that was captured. It's not. So I had to email somebody to get the email, and it was a little embarrassing. But anyway, Zettle, I'm very, very pleased with it. It's working well. The little card reader is like $25. No super biggie. Just make sure you don't drop it on the concrete floor in your shop. Be kind of careful with it. The other thing PayPal has done, which is really interesting, is they teamed up with ShipStation. PayPal used to have a print shipping label feature, and the prices were really, really high. They did not get a good deal from and I think it was only USPS. So I never used it. But they've teamed up with ShipStation, and ShipStation's one of the majors. We talked about that in a previous episode. They've done a pretty good job. It's a little clunky, but anytime that you're trying to marry 2 websites, giant websites together, yeah, it's probably not going to be the smoothest thing in the world, but it works. Now, ShipStation doesn't offer FedEx, but they do offer UPS and USPS and some others that I don't use. If you're outside of the U.S., probably not going to, you have your own things going on. I'm excited about this because I was still am using Shippo. But Shippo never pulled from PayPal. So if somebody ordered something from me and paid for it on PayPal, I would have to copy and paste that address into Shippo and ship it out. That's better than me typing it, because if anybody's ever seen me type, I scare small children, okay? So this is wonderful for me. It's seamless. I've tested the prices between the two, and they are very, very comparable. So I don't have any qualms about using one or the other. I'm still using Shippo for Etsy because it pulls it in very easily. It displays it right there. I don't have to type anything. So, okay, I have no idea. 7, maybe? Quarterly taxes. Okay, that I probably just lost a few of you right there. It's becoming that time. Taxes are due not too awful far in the future, and quarterly taxes, you kind of fall into 2 camps. Either you don't really know very much about them and you're terrified, or you do know about them and you're in a constant state of dread because of them. There's kind of a third group in there, and this is the one that I want to address. You're the person who has hung out your shingle, maybe from your apartment, and you're doing some business. You're making some product and you're selling them. And it's like, holy crap, people actually want to buy the stuff that I'm making. And I'm making some money at this. What was that they were talking about? Quarterly taxes, that I should do something? I don't know. I'll figure it out. And so the scenario goes that you get around to doing your federal income tax and in April, and there's a line on there where you have to enter other income. And it's like, I made like $4,000, selling these little laser engraved coasters. And now they expect me to put that $4,000 in that line? Because the problem is that you have a second job. You have a day job. And, maybe you're married, your spouse, your taxes are being withheld from your paycheck. Everything goes along fine. You're used to getting a, $800-900 tax refund every year, which means you have loaned the federal government $800 or $900 tax-free or interest-free for the year, you're used to getting that back. But if I plug $4,000 in here, I'm going to owe $700. I'm making these numbers up. And that comes as quite a shock, especially when you look at your bank account and it's like, I was expecting a refund and now I have to pay? Yes. Welcome to taxation in the United States. Subject for a different episode. So what do? Okay, if you find yourself in that situation, number one, don't panic. Don't freak out. They don't put anybody in jail on their first violation. But you do need to take care of this. And if it's a situation where you find yourself actually having to make a payment to the federal government, you're going to see a line there. Everyone does this on software now, online, that there's a 10% penalty for failure to withhold. It's 10% of whatever it was that you should have withheld. It's usually not a huge number unless you're like a giant corporation, which none of us are. So, yeah, okay, I've got a 10% penalty. You don't want a late fee on top of this, so you pay it. You come up with the money. If you can't come up with the money, you communicate with them and they can actually set you up on a repayment schedule. You won't go to jail yet. And you will get a new quarterly schedule. And the software will probably print these out. There's 4 sheets. It says that you should be making payments based on our estimation of what your business is going to generate next year based on the information that you have entered. I don't know, $500 every quarter. Again, making this up. And so every quarter, and here's one of the kickers. The first quarter's payment is due, yep, April 15th. So if you have to pay taxes, you also have to pay that first quarter. So it kind of double whammy sucks. And then you pay the next quarter and the third quarter and so on and so forth. They give you a little bit of a break, supposedly, by making your last quarter, the fourth quarter, if you're on a calendar system, due January 15th to January 30th. I think it's January 15th. I always pay that in December because I usually have money in December and I want to get that taken care of, and I can keep everything in a calendar year. I don't have one payment dragging into the next payment. You got to make sure that when you're filing the next year's payment that you're reporting these prepayments for your taxes. Don't let this sneak up on you. If you are in a situation where you're selling laser engraved coasters and you've made $4,000 and this is May, it would be a really good idea if you just put yourself on a schedule. You can give the federal government money. I don't think they've ever refused money. So you go onto their website, FedGov something or other, and you're making estimated payments. And, a quarter of $4,000 is $1,000. Oh, geez. Yeah, it hurts even just saying that. But send them the $1,000 because now next year you're not going to get into this situation where you have to come up with money that you weren't planning on and you're copacetic with the feds, which is a good place to be. So just get in the habit of whenever you're making, you sell $1,000 on something, retain that 25% and, stick that in a savings account. I think the accountants call it something like future liabilities account. And whenever the quarter comes up, you can pull the money out of that account and plop it, right in there. Remember that this is on your profits. So just because you sold something for $1,000, you don't have to send a check right away for $250. What were your material costs in that $1,000? If you spent $500 on materials, well, you only have $500 profit. So you'll start to figure this out. And I'm at a point right now that it seems like my quarterlies are running about 25% low each year over the last several years. And so I'm just going to step that up and overpay my quarterlies, and so that I don't have to write a check, in April. Kind of smooth things out. Yeah, in a way that's kind of an interest-free loan. No, it's a liability. So anyway, okay, so don't freak out over quarterly payments. That's what a quarterly payment is. So it's something that we're going to deal with in business. If you're outside the U.S., thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. You have your own hell to go through. You'll have to figure that out. Got an email from Stephen, who listens, small town near Evansville, Indiana, in southern Indiana. He said he was listening to the Veterans Day episode. That was November 11th. And he wanted to also suggest that Carhartt offers a 25% discount for military and first responders, and that includes veterans. So thank you for that, Stephen. I appreciate it. He also mentioned that there's a group called Warrior Rising that helps veterans start small businesses. And I had done some research on them when I recorded that episode and hadn't heard back from them, so I didn't include anything into it. But Stephen says that they've actually been a big help to him. So you might want to check that out. warriorrising.com, I believe. Thin kerf blades on your table saw. Should you do it or should you not? I think it's a pretty easy answer. If your table saw is 1.5 horse or under, that would be equivalent to 15 amps. Yes, you should use thin kerf blades. Why? To save some money. I coveted, I know I shouldn't have, lusted after, I know I shouldn't have, one of the real fancy, high-priced woodworkers blades that is advertised. A lot of people recommend. My credenзas will look so nice if I use that blade. So I bought it. It doesn't work all that well for me because I have a 1.5 horse table saw. It is a wide kerf blade. It's just a little shy of an eighth of an inch. And so that is hogging out a lot of wood. I have another machine that has an 1/8 inch kerf blade. You can't even tell sometimes that it's cutting wood. It has, like a 3 or 5 horse motor on it. So if you're using a smaller table saw, nothing wrong with that. Don't get hung up in the size of your table saw. I really recommend the thin kerf blades. They used to be junk. I will admit that. But they've really come a long way, and I have one now. I have no idea what brand it is. The markings have worn off. I've had it resharpened at least a half a dozen times. It does a great job. It really, really does. Just wanted to kind of throw that out. Okay, real quick, a couple other things I wanted to mention. Bourbon Moth, make woodworking your career. You should do these 10 things. If you're not familiar, the young man on YouTube, Bourbon Moth Woodworking, great website. He does a fabulous job. And he used to be a professional woodworker, and now he's as he says, a full-time content creator, probably making more money. In this episode, of course, all these links are in the show notes. 10 things you should be doing as a professional woodworker, and very, very good. I really latched on to number 7, where he said no hard dates. He doesn't tell people when he's going to have his project done for them. He said, I just set up unobtainable expectations, and he doesn't want to disappoint people. What he did is he went to the number list. And this had been suggested to me before, and I'm too stubborn to change. He says, you are number 7 on my list. When do you think you'll get to that? It could be 3 months. It could be 3 years. You tell them what number they are, and either they're good with it or they're not good with it. And a week before you get started on theirs, you call them up and tell them that you're getting ready to start. There might be some changes. They may have died. Don't give hard dates when things are due. I think that works really well for large projects, but maybe, Mrs. Smith really wants to know when her rocking chair is going to be ready. So take it for what it's worth. You might be able to incorporate this into your business. Missed jobs for the week. Got an email. I'm interested in making some built-in bookshelves. Would this be the type of project you would be interested in? The wording was not great. And again, I passed because yes, I love built-in bookshelves. Kind of a bread and butter at one time for me. But I just can't do that right now. And again, I'm not bragging about this. In fact, this is more of a confession that I really should have my act together to the point where I could say, yes, I would be happy to build built-in bookshelves for you. But, well, I don't have my act together. Boy, did I screw up. That's the section of the episode that I haven't used lately. Not because I haven't screwed up, but because I've been too embarrassed to tell you how I screwed up. But here's two. I ran out of tacks. Yeah, can you believe that? I'm recanvassing this boat, and I get one end zipped up, and my little tack box, it's like, this is empty. And I go to my reserves in the drawers, and that's empty. Oh my gosh. So I have a canoe hanging in my shop right now with one end done, the other end with the canvas just kind of flopping. I've ordered tacks. I just have to wait for them to come in from Maine. The second thing I screwed up, I missed an auction. And it was a good auction. It was online from a company that I've dealt with before. I trust them. And they had some really good stuff. In fact, maybe they had too much stuff because it's kind of kid in a candy shop. Ooh, I want that. Ooh, I want that. And the one thing with online auctions, you got to be a little careful because if you put in a maximum bid, if something's at $22 right now and you say, well, I'd go up to $45 for that item, and you do that on 10 items, and you win all of them, that's a big chunk of change right there that you may not have been expected. And if it was at a live auction, you probably wouldn't have allowed yourself to do that. So automation is great. You got to keep on top of it. The one item I wanted, I was online, I was on the computer, but I was doing something else and I wasn't paying attention, and the time expired and I missed it by like $4. I could have kicked in an extra $5 right there at the end. There were some other items that, yeah, that would be nice. I bet that's going to go pretty expensive. It was an oscillating spindle sander, a jet. And the thing, I wasn't paying attention. And my brain wasn't really paying attention because I've been in need of a oscillating spindle sander that works. I have one that only works 50% of the time. It was $145. You can't buy them for $145. And it seemed to be in good condition. In fact, the auction house even says hardly used. And I do trust them. So yeah, I kind of screwed that up. So I think auctions are a wonderful place to buy tools. But you got to pay attention. And I just wasn't paying attention. Special thanks to listeners in Snohomish, Washington. This is north of Seattle, up in the hills a little bit, about 10 miles from Puget Sound. Beautiful area. Also, Milton, Keynes, England. I hope I said that right. It's about halfway between London and Manchester on the M1. Really appreciate you listening. And the one listener in the Turks and Caicos Islands, these are kind of southeast of the Bahamas, just north of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Again, I don't know what city because my stats don't drill down that far. So you're listening from the Turks and Caicos and really appreciate you tuning in. So kind of a long episode. Hope you found something useful for this. As always, please reach out, email me, give me a phone call. If you have any questions, I would greatly relish the chance of helping you out. Buy me a cup of coffee if you like what you're listening to and want to support the show. And of course, there are affiliate links in the show notes that you can find at workingatwoodworking.com. So thank you and Tune in to the next episode. Happy woodworking.